Hello and welcome. This video is about the Dragon Ogres, the second creature that we are aware of that existed before the time of the old ones, so I hope you enjoy. So, first of all, I'll give as detailed description as I can of the Dragon Ogres, then I'll bring anything I can find from the novels into the equation, and at the end, sort of put it all together. That's the plan, but I tend to just sort of go with the flow, so there may be a few diversions along the way as well. Now, just like the dragons, the Dragon Ogres are pretty much the oldest creatures we know of living in the Warhammer world. They existed before the coming of the old ones, who I'm going to be dealing with in the next video, and therefore before the major races that we are familiar with. Elves, men, lizard men, all those kind of things. By the way, if you would like to hear an imagining of what the world was like back then, check out the second half of my previous video. I thought that bit was pretty good. Anyway, tangents. So, Dragon Ogres are also immortal creatures, and as they get older, they grow larger. So, the older a Dragon Ogre is, the bigger it becomes. Now, as Dragon Ogres existed before the old ones, and some of those Dragon Ogres are still around in the Warhammer's present day, imagine how large some of the older ogres, or as they call them, Shaggoths, have become. I should quickly mention, Shaggoths are basically the name given to the older, stronger, and more powerful ogres, and I'll go into more detail on them in a bit. And also, when I say present-day Warhammer world, I mean the fantasy world's present day that existed before the whole Age of Sigmar thing. So in the present Warhammer world, Shaggoths exist as large as mountains. Now, they also, long ago, made a pact with the Chaos Gods. Their race was dwindling to extinction, possibly as a result of the war with the dragons, and so they bargained with the Chaos Gods to gain more power and dominance in order to preserve their race. Interestingly, as we know that they were around before the old ones let chaos into the world, we must presume, therefore, that originally they were not like the chaos-inflicted beings that we know of as Dragon Ogres. For all we know, their lives back then could have been completely different, and they could have been mutated by chaos. The Dragon Ogre look is kind of freaky. They don't really look like any other fantasy creature I've seen, which I kind of love them for. They have this centaur feel about them, half one creature, half another, but instead of a horse with a human on top, it's a giant Godzilla-style lizard on the bottom and a crazy ogre on the top. It appears their crazy bodies do have some protection, as one of the wikis says, they have incredibly muscular abdomens with their gut plates, loincloths, skulls and chains. Oversized teeth protrude from their maws, and around their bodies are various hooks, bones, claws, and fins. Fins is a weird one, but anyway, yes, fins. The only other thing to really say about them are that they seem to have a strong affinity for lightning. It appears to give them extra vigour, and they are capable of using it as a projectile weapon in battle on enemies surrounding them. So there isn't really much point using any lightning-based attacks against them, as the results may, wait for it, shock you. Oh god, I cannot believe I just said that. The last thing that I want to do in this general description is talk about the Shaggoths briefly as a separate case. The Shaggoths are Dragon Ogres, they are just distinct due to their age. The oldest Dragon Ogres are given the name Shaggoth, and as they get older and become Shaggoths, they gain a few more characteristics. They are obviously much larger than a regular Dragon Ogre. They sleep a lot, much like the dragons. Actually, that goes for all the Dragon Ogres, they like to sleep. I've got to get this off my chest. You know, if all the dragons do is sleep, and all the Dragon Ogres do is sleep for the majority of their lives, and the oldest of each of their races sleeps more than the regular troops do. So what kind of wars did the dragons and the dragon ogres have before the coming of the old ones? I've got a feeling if you dropped someone, just say you dropped yourself into the old world on a typical day before the old ones came during those wars, I really don't think you would see much of anything. It also appears the Shaggoths gain a lovely head of hair and some big tusks at the side of their heads. Now, there are a few prominent Shaggoth characters that I want to talk about. Some of them have some really cool backstory, like there's a guy called Kraknarak the Black and Kolek Suneater, I think. But I'm going to save that for another video, make this a part 2. Because I've noticed that shorter videos seem to be better on YouTube. I think it can get boring if it gets too long, and I hope this isn't boring. But basically in part 2, I am going to cover some major characters, and then I'm going to dive into the novels and find all the references to dragon ogres in the novels and explore what that says about them. So I shall see you then. Cheers for watching, and if you fancy subscribing, well, that would be just swell.